A very warm welcome to all the viewers. I'm Sindhu Chandrasekharan, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science Engineering, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Katangulathur. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing our alumni, Mr. Venkatesh Gotimukul, in this alumni talk series. Venkatesh, he pursued his BTech between 2013 and 2017 in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Katangulathur. During his BTech program, he attended several workshops had in his on campus and also off campus. He presented a paper in an IEEE Explore conference, and he added his paper to IEEE Explore under my guidance. He has qualified an online certification course in Oracle Java as Oracle Certified Associate Java Programmer 1. He was awarded with the Merit Scholarship for his excellent performance throughout the 4 years of his BTech degree. He then pursued his master's in data science at the University of Texas at Dallas. Currently, he is working for T-Mobile and Sprint Telecom Giant as a software engineer in big data network technology, Bellevue, Washington. He has joined us today for the session. Are you confused on what to do? So was I. Exclusively for his juniors. Venkatesh, now the screen is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, thank you so much. I would like to thank Computer Science Department, School of Computing, SRMIST, to inviting me for this session. I'm going to give a enlightenment on how my journey was throughout my bachelor's, my master's, and what all difficulties I had. When was I confused? How did I manage to switch tracks in the computer science? So I'm going to go through that. I have some slides prepared. Let me share them. Yes. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Venkatesh.
Yes. So let me start. We'll be starting with how my first year in my bachelor's degree looked like. So the first question I had was, why choose computer science? So because I didn't have prior experience choosing this background. So I was like, there were a lot of students with prior computer science background. So I did choose it because I was interested in creating more applications, developing my resume, a lot of apps that I had a lot of doubts how to create them in real life, just like maybe Android games or data entry applications. I was a lot of interested in that. So I was like, uh, I will go pursue computer science engineering. But when in my first year, I got to realize that there are students who had prior knowledge. So my first question that came into my mind was, did I choose computer science? Did I make the right choice? So that was the first question. But once I got into the stream, there were even more challenges that I had to go so on. The thing was, there were a lot of tracks inside computer science that I was not aware of. There are a lot of electives you can pursue. There was intelligent systems, there were cryptography, there was networking, there were data science. So which one should I choose? All of these questions came to me in the very first year. And the very first thing I did on the day one was I got myself enrolled in every possible computer science event. I got into hacking workshops, all of that. That was a bit overwhelming because honestly, I didn't exactly catch what I was looking for. It was just overwhelming for me. But slowly and steadily, I just got through the year one. As you all know, year one was mostly about you have a lot of subjects. Not you don't jump entirely into your core computer science, but that was my year one. So I got into making connections with all the students, my seniors, joined in all campus programs, any on-campus events. The Irish Fest was going on, so I just enrolled myself in ethical hacking workshop, all of them. So I would say I was pretty much ready for what I was gonna expect in year two. So in year two, what happened was we were given a choice to select either of open electives and the core electives. So open electives, I just went with management. And core electives, that was something I was again struggling with. So which one should I choose? Should I go with artificial intelligence? Should I go with data science? Or what should I go with? So I just went with networking. It was a really good track, but like I think around year 3 I then wanted to go for another track, not because I made a wrong choice, or maybe because I wanted to switch halfway through that. Just that I was like, I got the basics of what networking. I took high speed networks, computer networks. I got computer networks lab. So I wanted to switch to another track to see what exactly was going on. So that's the confusion point one that hit me. So basically, I went with computer networks in year 2. So year three, it was really fast. I took some other subjects. I went with a Python subject, and all of everything went by real fast. And the end of the second semester in the third year, we started preparing for placements. So there was a real huge gap on what to expect, what the classes were teaching, and what will be expected in the interviews. So to be honest, there was not much of a difference. So what exactly that we were preparing for was asked in the placements. So that was a huge relief, because most of the time uh, students prepare a lot, and they get unexpected questions in the interviews. That didn't happen, at least here in SRM. We had a real good faculty. We had a lot of guidance. Uh, I I was always in touch with most of the faculty in charge, Sindhu ma'am. Anyone I had any questions related to placements, I just went to them. They guided me in every possible way they can. And third year was basically half of the third year was getting into my second track in the core electives, and the other half was starting preparing for placements. And yes, so fourth year. So my fourth year in my bachelor's, it started up with placements. I got placed into a company, and then started the real question: Do I still want to pursue something else, or do I want to go for further studies? And if yes, which one am I going to take? Is it going to be MS or MBA? And so I actually started my MBA training in third year. So I honestly gave like 6 MBA exams, and I even gave my GRE and IELTS. So the next slides are going to be about mostly a Q&A, or if you are already in computer science, what all projects you can look forward to, which programming language you're going to choose. Does the programming language really matter? Can you switch halfway through, or did you make a wrong choice in the first year, or are you willing to switch the language in second year, third year? Does language really matter in interviews? So we're going to go into that. And yes, whereas the MS versus MBA, so it depends on what your goals are. So I was, to be honest, a little confused. So I went ahead, I bought a lot of CAT coaching books, I gave a lot of MBA exams, and the faculty were really supportive. I just had interviews, off-campus interviews for MBA universities throughout my fourth year. But I got permission from every faculty from SRM, so they would write a permission letter for me. I would go attend the interviews. Those were in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, but faculty were really supportive. I gave my GRE and IELTS. So the question one might get is, do we give IELTS or TOEFL? So it doesn't really matter if you're coming to USA. If you're going for Canada, then it's a good option to have IELTS. But IELTS works good for both Canada and USA. So that's one question that most students have. And the last semester in the fourth year, you have a final year project. You can choose to publish in the university journal, or you can choose to publish it in IEEE Explore. So what I did was I prepared a paper under Sindhu ma'am's guidance, and we made a rough copy and we sent it to the ICOCA, the international conference. It was being held in Coimbatore. So if you have any ideas, even starting from year 1, year 2, year 3, doesn't matter. Just have a rough a sketch of what your project is going to look like. Under a guidance of a faculty, draft a paper, send it for approval to any of the IEEE Explore conferences. They happen, I guess, twice a year or maybe more, in Tamil Nadu and in Telangana. So you can just send your papers for approval, and once you get a confirmation, faculty will allow you to go present your paper, and that's it. You're gonna get asked a couple of questions about your project. You'll give a seminar, you're gonna present your paper, and if they accept it, it's gonna go into IEEE Explore. And if your paper is really worthy, they're gonna publish it, and they're gonna reimburse you for all your expenses. But going to the publishing in IEEE Explore is a really great achievement. It doesn't exactly have to be fourth year. If you have an idea directly in first year or second year or third year, you can go for it. If it is already an implementation of a paper, that is also accepted. All you have to do is any improvements on that. The faculty and the School of Computing, they will guide you through any plagiarism checks and everything. So you will be good to go for publishing your papers. And having a paper at IEEE conference really adds to your resume. So this was the 4 years in my bachelor's degree, and from the year one, I had a question of which programming language I'm going to choose. Will I be making switches? So this is how my bachelor's degree programming languages look like. Year one, I was still in process of learning what all the basics I need related to computer science, the object-oriented programming languages, the database management system, all of the things in year one. So that just went on for me deciding on what I'll choose the language. So year two, I went with C and C++. The curriculum was adjusted such a way that you'll be free to code in C, C++, but you can go ahead and ask the faculty permission if you want to switch a language. Since I was new to all of this, I went with C, C++. It was really a great start, I would say. So I got to know a lot of concepts, and mostly till the end for even the interviews as well, I used just C and C++. So that was the most of my year two. We had MATLAB, we used C, C++ for the object-oriented languages, algorithms, and everything. And year three, I took a network class, which was networking and cryptography. So we were asked to encrypt and decrypt messages. So I started to look into Python because that was most popular in that time. I was like, I'm done with C, C++. I just want to switch to Python. So that's not a big thing if you want to switch programming languages, because it doesn't really matter if companies are looking for a particular language developer. So even in interviews, as you keep going up the tier for the companies, let's say any of the farm companies, Facebook, Apple, uh, Amazon, Netflix, Google, none of the companies exactly ask you for any coding language. They just look for algorithms, and all the coding that interview will be going on, it's mostly whiteboard. So you're just asked to implement a solution for a problem, and you can choose whatever language you're comfortable with. They are just looking for logic and the best solution possible. So uh, keeping this in mind, I actually switched between a lot of languages throughout my bachelor's and master's. And just by year three, I was switching between three of the languages: C, C++, and Python. And year four, I went with Java, because I was trying to integrate a lot of my modules into the major project. My project was based on cryptography. I was trying to make a project in which you're going to get a key from a server, and it will be decrypted, and it will be encrypted. You have to decrypt it and use it within a couple of minutes, or else it's going to expire. So a lot of modules, I was comfortable in Java. So this is where I switched again from Python to Java. And because most of the connectivities that I was aware of or I learned from maybe it can be data connectivity or making Java server pages. So everything that was linked to Java. So you can say that for one, during the interview process, I switched to Java. So I switched between like four languages throughout my bachelor's. So it was C++, Python, Java, and so that's the end of my bachelor's degree. And the electives that I switched between all the years, starting from year two, first was cryptography and network security. Year three, I switched to networking. Year four, I came back again to cryptography. So it's okay to be confused throughout your course, but make sure you know which elective you want to. It is not the end of the world if you choose the if you want to switch between tracks. Just make sure you don't have your mind brought in each and every topic. So that's gonna like not be ultimately clear to you. So that's okay. I was in cryptography and network security. I took subjects related to that. I took Python. I took ethical hacking, cryptography, everything in year two. Then year three, I switched to high speed networking. Year four, I came back to cryptography. So that's how my project went. So these are some of the questions that you have while you're in bachelor's degrees. And so when did I actually get an idea of applying for masters? So this was during the year three. So the 3-1 started. I've seen people starting to prepare for placements. There were students preparing for MBA. There were students preparing for MS. So I didn't know what I was going to do, so I just went with all the three. I started preparing for MBA. I started preparing for MS, GRE, and IELTS, and I even started going to placement classes, taking a lot of mock tests, everything. So that School of Computing was really helpful. So they made us ready for what questions you need to expect, the filtering process, how it will be. So I basically went with all the three: the campus placements, the GRE, IELTS, and the CAT exams as well. So the next question would be, how did your timeline look like when you gave your master's tests, the application, the date of arrival? So I would say I gave my GRE in November of the last year. So let's say if I graduated in May 2017, so I gave my GRE around November, I would say November 2016. So that would be like your 3-1, 4-1. So the first semester of the fourth year, I had my GRE scores with me, and next in a couple of months, I had my IELTS as well. So you have to make sure you give at least a 2-month gap in between your exams, and make sure you have a 4-month gap before your date of arrival to US for your masters or even Canada. So the 4-month is just so you can have you can wait for your application status, and you can start taking your dates for visa interviews. So as of now, it is a little bit of more tight, so you don't have a lot of visa dates. I would say 4 months is still a pretty good duration that you can expect to have it. Uh, and yes, that's about it. So November was my GRE date. You can say Jan was my yes, January was my IELTS date. And it's okay if you don't get your results for 4-2, you can still go ahead and apply. I've seen a lot of students having a doubt on do we have to wait until we graduate so we can have all the answer on the mark sheets to submit to the university? No, it doesn't matter. So all you need is the mark sheet until 4-1. So make sure you give your GRE before the end of the first semester in your fourth year, so that way you will have your marks ready to submit, and by the end of 4-1 you will have your mark sheet with you. You can submit it. And how did you handle placements and higher studies preparation at the same time? So yes, this was a tough time, and this is actually a really good question. So a lot of students have this question like, how did you handle preparing for placements as well as any either it's an MBA or masters? So how did you manage both of them at the same time? So I would say placements. preparing for placements. Entire daytime I would prepare for placements, and once around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, I would start preparing for MBA. So if you're planning for GRE and IELTS, I would say any coaching for MS or MBA, that would be sufficient just to give a GRE. So I didn't exclusively prepare for GRE. I prepared for MBA, and I ended up giving masters with that preparation. That's that was sufficient to give GRE. But for IELTS or TOEFL, I would say you need at least maybe 3 to 4 weeks of preparation. So make sure you have that preparation ahead of the timeline that you're planning to give for. And next would be any advice on SOPs and LORs. Yes, SOP, statement of purposes. So you should have a clear 2-page draft, I would say. So first page will be about you, about your background, any achievements, and the second page would be about the university. So I get a lot of questions saying, is it okay to send the same SOP to every university? It is not frowned upon, but it is advisable to customize every SOP related to university. You can mention any particular point regarding the university that you're going to. Let's say if I'm about my university, University of Texas Dallas. So I gave a SOP. The second page was exactly about which guitar track I was trying to get into. And since most of the part in my bachelor's I was in cryptography and network security, I chose to write about the cryptography department in University of Dallas. So about the faculty, about the really good research, the grants they got, I wrote about that. So that's a really good piece of advice I would give on statement of purpose. You can always have first page same, which will be about you, but the second page, always make sure you customize it according to the university you're going to. LORs, letter of recommendations. Mostly you will need three letter of recommendations. Some universities just ask for two. You can approach faculty. Mostly the common thing that I've seen is your project guidance counselor, anyone uh, who is responsible for your project in the later part of fourth year. So they can give you an LOR, and the rest too you can ask other faculty. So LORs, sometimes faculty ask to have a basic template and they're going to add upon it, but few faculty they write their own LOR. So that's good. And make sure you have their contact. Sometimes what happens, you get an email saying that the LOR has been sent to the faculty, so you need to communicate with the faculty like, hello, did you receive the LOR? So they're going to say yes, and they fill it and they send it back. So you'll be good on that. So that's the advice on SOP and LOR, I would say. And how did you prepare for GRE and IELTS? IELTS, I just went through all the online classes that I had. For GRE, I was preparing for MBA exams in my third year, so that helped a lot. GRE is not as intense as any MBA exams that you're going to give. So if you're preparing for MBA, I would say just go for GRE as well, even if as a backup plan. If you don't want to give, you don't know what the circumstances are going to turn, how much you're going to score. So I'd say with the MBA preparation, go for GRE as well. So that's how I prepared for GRE. IELTS, I went through all the online videos. If you have any of your acquaintances, your friends preparing for IELTS, they're going to have material. You can share it among each other and you can prepare. So that's my take on all my timeline. What are the questions I had after my bachelor's degree? Let's go. Then the graduation. I didn't attend the graduation because that was my date of arrival in United States was before the graduation, so I couldn't attend it. And now came to master's degree. So this was when you had to apply. So what all questions you have during master's degree or before applying? What university you want to choose? Does the university matter? If to what extent? uh, so yes, university does matter, but you shouldn't have your sole focus on the best possible chance. So that's why you have to divide your university preference into three parts. So one's going to be the best university or the tough university that you think you won't be able to get into for your marks or your profile. It is still okay. You can have a couple of universities for that. Then some universities that you're definitely going to get, and a lot of people just stop here. But I would say just apply for a university, uh, if with a good location, with a profile that would be slightly less than you, just as a backup, because you're not going to know if you have applied before the deadline or how many people started directly from the day one. So it's just, you can have one university as a backup, but it solely depends on the individual who is applying. So yes, I applied to two universities that were out of reach, three universities in my profile, and one university which I was certainly sure that I will get into. So even if you have a couple of low grades here and there in GRE and IELTS, that's okay. If your academic profile is strong enough, if your resume is good enough, that's going to compensate for it. So that's what happened with mine. I was so much devoted to MBA and placements. I didn't give a really good. I didn't really get a good score on GRE and IELTS, but I still went and applied with that. So my academic profile covered for that. My papers, my GPA, all of the my certificates, the internships that I did throughout the bachelor's degree, that got covered me. And yes, I got into the university that was hard to reach, and I went with the admission. So one frequent question that I get is, once you get into masters, how tough is to get on with the courses? Is it like really tough? Is every day busy with assignments and projects? Not No, on the contrary, the you only have like 6 hours worth of classes in the entire week. So other than the 6 hours, you have the entire week for yourself. So and the assignments are very well planned, so you're going to get at least a week or 10 days to submit your assignments, and it's going to be at least a month for your projects. So if you fail to submit it, then it's mostly on you. So what the students do is they have it very well prepared on the very first 2 days, and they just submit it. So that's how it will be. The assignments, I would say, they are not that easy. They are not that tough too. It depends mostly on the subject, on the faculty, but it's not as stressful as master's persons believe it to be. If you plan anything well enough ahead, it will be easy for you. And the next question is, did you have an on-campus? Yes, I did have an on-campus job. It is really easy to handle on-campus and subjects, because people think it is tough to handle a job and studies at the same time. But no, if you are an on-campus job, the your employer or anyone in your department, they'll make sure that your schedule don't clash with your classes or any of your exams if you have it nearby. So that's a really good thing to happen with on campus. And if you're pursuing a US master's degree, you are allowed to do only on campus jobs. There are no off campus jobs. So that's one thing to focus on. And since it's only on campus, all the jobs will make sure that you have a lot of time to allocate to your classes and for your shifts. So that's another question that students have. You can very well cope on your on campus and subjects at the same time, and even your subjects as well as your projects and assignments. So that's the question. Yes, so now coming back to my master's degree, it sounds exactly like how my bachelor's degree went. The first year, the first semester, I would say. So the 4 years of bachelor's will exactly fit in with the 4 semesters of your master's degree. First semester will most likely be an advanced version of subjects that you already took in your bachelor's, like database algorithms. So this you can compare it to your first year in your bachelor's, which will be basics in computer science and some other subjects out of your core. So this was exactly same to that. And in first semester, you will be asked to choose a track, and this just sounded like the year two in my bachelor's. So I was asked to choose a core elective. So this time I had an intention of choosing cryptography and network security, since that's what I have been studying for 2 years in my bachelor's degree. And I gave my final year project on that. I gave my paper on that. But after coming here, I started again analyzing my options. So I had to choose between intelligence systems, data science, and security, so and also networking. So I did a thorough research, and I decided to go with data science. So my second semester, how did my second semester look like? So since after deciding for a long time after thinking, I took data science, but then I got a confirmation from the department saying that I don't have to choose all the subjects from data science. I can choose 3 to 4 subjects out of the track and the rest of the subjects within the track. So I decided to take the subjects out of the track, and what I chose was human computer interaction. So this is where it gets a little interesting. I started developing apps that are easy to run on your mobile or your laptop. You can show it anywhere. You can just share the app. So the human computer interaction, it was basically Android applications and apps based on drag and drop model, which was Java, Swing, and C Sharp. So halfway through the year, halfway through the semester, I started having fun. I developed a lot of games. I started developing a lot of data entry applications. I'll just show you what I worked on. So these are a couple of projects that I worked on. So on the left side, you see it's a data entry application. You see a lot of people have clerical jobs where they have to they'll have a certain format of how they're going to do the data entry, and they have a really huge list in front of them, and they start entering the data into either Excel, any formatable files. So I started developing those. So this was a data entry application, and most to be even more concise, this was actually recording the keystrokes the data analyst, the data entry associate does. So how many keystrokes he's spending, how many backspace he's doing. So this is really fun with C Sharp, because all of these boxes that you see on the screen, they are drag and drop. You don't need to write code for that. All you need to do is just drag up the text boxes, drag up the labels, and it's going to automatically fill in the code for you in the backend. So I really started liking that. And on the right side, if you see, this is a Atari Breakout game. So if you're not sure what that game is, you just have a ball and a paddle. You click on that, the ball hits all the boxes. So basically you have 3 boxes, green, red, and blue, and you have to hit everything, and you're going to get 3 chances. So this was really fun game, and it was not actually tough. So it took around like a couple of days. You dig through what you need. You write classes in Kotlin. Kotlin is similar to Java, and this was really helpful, as all the apps that you're developing, you can import your project into APKs, put it in your phone, show it to the interviewer, any panelist. So you can just tell them that you have developed a game, and they don't have to go through your code. They can just see the game right away. And so this is what I was doing throughout my second semester. And so this is human computer interaction. But what at the end of second semester, what I had doubt was, doesn't Android and C Sharp limit to only few jobs? So if you are looking for a software engineer, you have multiple roles. You can go to front end, back end, data science, migration, anything. But if you're developing a C Sharp or Android applications, you'll be limited to that respective jobs. So which would be C Sharp developer or Android application developer. So that hit me again. So I switched again in my third year. In my third year, I got an internship. So I got an internship as a web developer. And if you have guessed it by now, I didn't get it in any of the languages I used in the first two semesters. So I used C Sharp, I used Kotlin, I used Java, but now I got a Python based web development job. So it was a gaming company. So I got an on campus internship with a startup funded by our university, and I got as a Python web developer. So until this moment, I didn't exactly know how Python is going to get used in web development, because I thought Python is just getting used in OpenCV or any backend. But this was the first time I heard that Python is used in Django framework, Flask, and everything. This was a really good exposure to how you can use a language in multiple ways. So the craziest interview ever, I had to literally play a game. So I don't know if you have heard of Minecraft. I was working for this company. So this is a mod based on Minecraft, and the entire website code was written in Python. So it's a Django framework, if you're not familiar with. So I got an internship in that. I passed the game. I told them I have an idea of Python from my bachelor's degree. They said that's good enough. I passed the game. I was offered a position, and so now the question arises: how do I improve my coding skills in Python? Since I have a internship in Python, I wanted to take subjects that would get me with Python itself. So I just decided to switch again from human computer interaction to computer vision, data representation, and visualization. So these subjects come under data science. You have really huge data you're going to work with. You're going to have to make models, train the models. You have 80 is to 20. So you use 80% of the data for training the model, 20% for testing it. So I had data representation, visualization, and computer vision. So if you guys don't know what computer vision is, it's a really cool subject where you can use Python to make face recognition. You can have can develop a model where you can to take either images or videos and detect the mood. So if the person is frowning, if he's sleeping, if he's off the screen, so any of this stuff that was in computer vision. So this was really interesting. A couple of examples of what I did was changing RGB HSV values from a webcam feed or even an image. So you can use OpenCV in Python to detect face. You can have attendance count. You can add a webcam to a classroom. This is surprisingly not a lot of code. You can develop any of these applications within a 50-line code. This was really interesting, and everything was in Python. And I even did a lot of projects on manipulating image colors. So you get the image, you start poking around RGB values, everything. So entire of this thing is done in Python. You can put masks and filters in front of webcam. You have RGB value of an object. You can change it to something else. You can add a mask. So that way you can actually change the color of objects to another color. This was really interesting, and all of this was in Python. And once this all happened, I came to my fourth semester, and this time again I wanted to switch to game development within the company. But Minecraft, if you don't know, is written in Java. So again I switched from Python to Java. And I switched the position from web developer intern to a software engineering intern. And now I had to choose the final semester jobs, since I was in data science track and I ignored the major subjects until now. So I had no choice to take them. I was actually happy because until now I jumped between Python, C Sharp, Kotlin, and Java. But now when I took the subjects, I was allowed to take R language, which I didn't know. So that's basically a data representation, data visualization language, where you're going to get data sets, you read them, and you do models. if it's a seven, let's say 7 column data you have, let's say x1, x2, x3, so you're going to reduce it to 2 column data just to have a x and y graph, and you start to plot data and decide what value you're going to get for which input. So that was R language, and I had a big data class that was in Scala. So again, in my fourth semester, since I was switching between a lot of these tracks, I ended up having the subjects that I had no idea about, and the programming languages I didn't use it before, the R and Scala. But it was really fun if you are going for big data. Scala is really helpful. You can do Scala, you can do big data with Java as well. So we are gonna see how. Yes, so this is one of the clips from the game. If this is an interesting one, so this entire game is developed in Java, so you can write code whatever you want. So if you're gonna have one player to go to certain place, so this is in Java. So what I want to convey with this is you can make any of your projects interesting. It doesn't have to be your library management system, all of those projects all over again. You can start doing game development. It doesn't have to be a huge project, just enough to show it to any interviewers, any panelist on the go. So even if you don't have the projects to show it on the go, you can always have them in your GitHub repo. I always encourage students to have your code in open a public repository and add the hyperlinks in your resume. The reason I say that is, since now all of the resumes that you submit to either jobs through LinkedIn or through campus, it's everything is online, and having a hyperlink is really going to give the confidence to the interviewer that yes, you have done this project, your code is open source. So that's going to really get a good impression. So yes, if it's Android, you don't have to worry. You can always have the games on your mobile. And yes, so now since I was in the game development for the fourth semester, I was totally expert in Java, because that was most part of my day. So I took the classes in the evening, so the entire day I was working, and I had to develop code in Java. And good part about being in a game development internship is 60% of the time you have to keep testing your code. So essentially you're going to get paid for playing a game. Not exactly playing game all the time, but most of the time. And yes, uh, taking the subjects in R language, data science, and Scala. So this was my fourth semester. Then starts the placements. In USA, you have career fairs. So you have to approach the companies yourself, drop in your resume. If they like it, they will give you a call. So I did the same thing. I dropped my resume. I got a call from Amdocs. If you don't know Amdocs is a vendor for AT&T. They're really big client. AT&T is a telecom giant. Amdocs has a really huge branch in Pune, India. So I dropped my resume, and a month later I got a call from Amdocs saying that they want to schedule an interview. And after the interview, I got the job. It was software developer in Java. Even though I was looking for uh, any core data science Scala, I went for this role, software developer in Java. It was creating chatbots. And yes, the confusion came again. So I've decided, do I want to stick in Java developer role, because most of my last semester I was doing Java development, and in Amdocs I was doing Java development, was creating chatbots, adding data, all how to make chatbots respond by itself when you ask it to throw information about a product or anything. But then I started preparing for another jobs halfway through my job, and in the next year I got a job in big data. So this is the job that I'm currently at. I'm software engineer in big data network technology. for T-Mobile and Sprint. So this is again a telecom giant. T-Mobile and Sprint, they merged recently, and so this is how my programming language confusion looked like in master's degree. Semester 1 I was in Java, for both the database connectivity, writing algorithms and everything. Semester 2 I was with C Sharp and Kotlin. Semester 3 I was with Python, and semester 4 Scala and R. And I ended up getting a job in Java in my year 1, and then I decided to switch to big data, and that's when I got a job in data science, which was in Scala. So then came the graduation. After graduation, I joined the Amdocs. Then I switched to T-Mobile, and in my new job, I was hired to write code in Scala. So what I do exactly, data migration. So as of now, all the companies have decided to move their data from on-premise to cloud. So since telecom has a lot of data coming in from each and every mobile IMEI, so they collect data and they store it in on-premise machines. So this is not the efficient one, because on-premise you have actual machines sitting in the network data centers. So it's always a good option to have your data migrated to cloud. So as of now, I'm doing data migration from on-premise to cloud. So if you have a question on why Scala, so big data is nothing but you'll be writing code to migrate your data from one place to another place, but you will have a huge scope of scalability. So the code that you write, it's just not going to run on a single machine, because as concerned with your college projects, you will not be working in gigabytes of data, you'll be working in terabytes of data. So yeah, the machines can't exactly take a huge load if you are just going to run on single machine. So that's when you split and start running your code on multiple machines at the same time. So this is what MapReduce, Hadoop, every big data projects that you hear about. So this is writing the same code, making it scalable to a huge, to ingest huge data. So this you can do it using Databricks or Kubernetes. There are a lot of other platforms, but if you want to start with learning or creating some minor projects, you can start with Databricks. And if you're using Databricks, you can either use Python or Scala. So that's why I chose Scala. And because it's a really good language, it is exclusively used for big data. If you want to try, you can always, as student, you can apply for a Databricks account. You will get a 15-day trial, and even if you want to use it after that, you can renew it as long as you're a student. So that's a good technique if you want to come into big data. You can mimic this MapReduce. You can have your data sitting on a system, have a remote access to the system, grab the data, put it in your Azure or AWS, and then have a backup again on another system. So it is really easy, and it's basically having your code that you write in your own laptop, in your own IDE, either IntelliJ or Eclipse or any of the IDE. It is just having the code sitting somewhere running on an engine like Databricks or Kubernetes, and getting the same data run on multiple machines at the same time. So you can always go back and check on Databricks and Kubernetes. And yes, so after my year 1 in the current job, I thought that's the end. But until someone proposed, we switched to Kubernetes from Databricks. Since Databricks uses Scala and Python, we had a model change to Kubernetes, and Kubernetes works really well with Java. So now I'm back to Java. Any questions that students have is any change in the recruitment process due to pandemic situation? Yes, but this actually might have made it a little bit easy if you are looking, if I'm talking just about computer science students, because this pandemic has made all of the interviews online. So you're just going to have video interviews. No one is having one-on-one face-to-face interviews anymore. So that's the major change I was going to say. So you will not be going to direct company for the job. You'll just have a video call, video chat. But other than that, not a lot of change, I would say. So yes, if you are looking for any certifications, I would say if you're looking for Java, I would say OCA Programmer 1. This is really gonna be helpful for basics. If you are in, doesn't matter which year you are in right now, the Java OCA Programmer 1, that certification will help you a lot. If you pass that, and if you want to go to next level, scale up your knowledge from in Java, from just running a single node machine to scalable machines, multi-threading, and advanced version, you can go with OCP Programmer 2. And if you don't want to come to coding side, but you still want to learn more about how to handle the machines, anything, you don't need to have any programming language. You can always switch to DevOps, which you can learn everything about how your cloud platforms work, either let it be Azure or AWS. So you can always go for Azure AZ900. So this is a really huge database, I can say. You can learn about every service that Azure has to offer. AZ900, a solid 2-week preparation will fetch you this certification. And if you want to come to data science, I would say go with Azure DP200. It's a data engineering certification, both DP200 and DP201. And if you want to learn about scalable machines, Kubernetes or Databricks, you can go for certified Kubernetes administrator. So you don't need to do this all at the same time. You can start with OCA. You can, if you want, you can go with AZ900. AZ900 will exactly give you a clear-cut idea of how cloud systems work, what companies are expecting out of cloud, how the billing works, how the machines work, what type of machines you can expect to spin up on these cloud-based frameworks. So everything you're going to get from AZ900. And DP200 201 is if you want to come into data science and could be a Kubernetes expert, you can go for certified Kubernetes administrator. And yes, so in my job, I did switch from Scala to Java. And as of now, I'm working in both Java and Scala. And for the brief time, I was in AWS project as well. In that, you'll be using something called ELK stack, Elasticsearch. So you will have Kibana. You'll have really good tools that will take your data from any source, and it will get you graph generated. So you can switch either to AWS or Azure. It doesn't really matter. And you don't need to be an expert in this stuff. You just need to know what each of the services does. And that's my entire take on my bachelor's, master's, and my job. And coming back to a brief on all the questions that we discussed so far, FAQs on abroad studies. When should I start preparing for GRE, IELTS, and TOEFL? I would say maybe 3-1 or 3-2. The first semester or the second semester of third year, that would be a good time to start preparing. And studies in India versus studies in abroad, it doesn't really have a huge difference. India, you have classes packed from for a lot of hours, but you have a huge ways to learn, guidance, a lot of things. Studies in abroad, you don't have a lot of classes, but you do have a lot of time to submit your projects, get help through any online platforms and everything. So I would say studies in India versus studies abroad, as of now, I don't see a lot of difference. But if you want to focus on one particular specialty, I would say studies in abroad. If you are keen on what you want to know, you can always opt for studies in abroad. Tough deadlines and assignments projects, you can manage it. For both bachelor's and master's, you will have some challenges, but planning ahead, you can overcome it. Single SOP to all universities, you can, but not advisable. Always customize it. IELTS or TOEFL, as I said, IELTS for USA or Canada, TOEFL only for Canada, only for USA. Does location of university matter? Yes, this question is I get a lot, and yes, university location does matter, but not everything works out if you're in a good location. Let's say if you're in California university, it still depends on how much response you get from the companies. Do you have any referrals, any connections? If you're not like actively participating, it doesn't matter which location you are in. If you are really actively participating, it doesn't matter. Either way, it doesn't matter which university your location is. It comes down to your connections, your referrals. If you have any professor or any of your friends who are ready to refer you, it comes down to that. And you're taken on-campus jobs. It's not mandatory to have an on-campus job. You can apply, but I've seen some of the students who didn't take up on-campus job and focused entirely on the studies, and they ended up getting a really good jobs in top-tier companies. So I would say it is an option. It is not a complete necessity. So that's my take on that. Then the last thing that we're going to discuss is FAQs on interviews. How important is it to do certifications? It will really add up to your resume. You can always take it slow, but make sure that you know which certifications cost and which certifications are free. If you are a student, Azure certifications will most likely cost less, or maybe sometimes even free if the university is enrolled with Azure. So you can always check on that. If it is an Oracle, you can talk to your guidance counselor, any of the people in the department. But yes, so validity, Oracle certifications, they usually are valid throughout the lifetime, but cloud-based certifications, they are not. You have to renew them every 2 years or every 3 years, depending on which cloud platform you took the certification from. This is just to keep you up to date with the changes going on. And yes, so what language to begin with? Where can I practice? So I would say, if you it depends on what you are looking for. If it is big data, I would say you can start with Scala or Java or Python. If it is just pure framework based, if you are going for Django or Flask, go with Python. If you want to just stick with Java because you already started, or if you don't want to make a switch, Java is very fine as well. Where can you practice? It is always a good idea to have IDE downloaded, but if you are just having to prepare on the go, can always go to REPL. If you see the ninth line, REPL is an online coding platform. You can have your repository there, share it with your peers. So that's a good way to prepare. Does IDE matter? It doesn't really matter. Once you come into the industry, you are free to choose any of the IDE you want. I've seen a lot of senior engineers not using any IDE. They just prefer to use command line. It's a little bit tough, but it is completely doable. And yes, so this question is really important. What is taught in college versus what employers are looking for? So universities have been trying to narrow this gap down. So students will actually feel that what they are learning in the class is what the employers are expecting. There will still be a gap, but a negligible one. So students, if you can just keep focusing on the projects and try to relate what you learn in class with your projects and what you can expect in interview, that should take you in a really good path. So this question is a really interesting one. Interview versus actual job. Yes, so interviews, they just test on how you act in a tough situation. If you're given a problem, how you're approaching. So I've seen people get crack interviews even though they ended up not solving the problem, but at least proceeding in the best direction. And people who have solved the problem but not gave the optimal solution, they didn't get the job. So interviews are just to test how pressure you can take, how keen are you in getting the solutions for the question. And actual job, it's way different from what interview is. So but you will get an idea of that. So they don't have the interview candidates have the entire knowledge of what they exactly want. They just want to know if you're familiar with the language, if you're familiar with algorithms, and you always have a window to learn. They'll train you, and so that's that. And changes in interview process due to pandemic, not a lot. Everything has gone online, only video chats and video interviews. Which coding platforms used to prepare? I would say LeetCode, Geeks for Geeks, and Code Wars. LeetCode and Code Wars, and even Geeks for Geeks, they have a everyday challenge. They send it to you by the end of the day. You can send it. You can set the interval to weekly. This is really good practice. So I would say even if you are preparing slow, just be consistent with it. uh, any ideas for quick setup, it will be REPL. How to show your project certifications to the interviewer. So since all the resumes and everything has gone online, it's not possible to show them your certifications. I would say just scan it, upload it to LinkedIn, have it someplace, and attach Git hyperlinks, upload the certifications. That's one thing. And finally, have a strong LinkedIn profile, Git profile, start making connections, ask people for referrals, and that's the end of it. Say, keep questioning, keep believing. So if you have any other questions that I might have missed, you can always reach out to me on the my contact. I have my Gmail address here, my LinkedIn connect, and my GitHub profile. So that's me. I would like to thank.
Thank you, Venkatesh.
Thank you so much.
Venkatesh, few questions are in a chat box.
Sure.
Can you look on it?
Yes. Just a second.
So, is that SDN plays a role in handling big data?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that SDN plays a role in handling big data?
Yes, it does play a major role. So I actually.
SDN plays a role in handling big data.
Yes. Yes, it does play a major role. So I actually.
SDN plays a role in handling big data.
Yes. Yes, I took a SDN course. Yes. Yes, I took a SDN course. I took a SDN course. So if you are using any of the cloud-based platforms, you have technical architects, network engineers. So they are very much familiar with. They are very much familiar with the SDN course. They have to set up private subnets, VNets in all of the cloud. If it is Azure, you have to make your endpoints private endpoints. So yes, SDN does play a really big role. But if you are a software engineer who is just in development, you will always have support from a network engineer, a senior engineer from your team. And yes, it is. If you can take a SDN course, I would say go for it, so you can know what to expect or what the changes the network engineers are doing in your project. But yes, SDN does play a really big role.
One more question. Any good courses for Python?
For Python, yes. If you can, I would not. I don't know if there is any certification, but online videos, you really have really good videos. There is a Centex website, Sentdex. I will mention it in the chat. That's how I learned Python. Uh, yes, so Centex is where I learned the Python courses from. Yes. OpenCV library is another library which is really mostly about your face recognitions, you to develop models, have principles. It's really easy because you always have open source code that you can use in to make your own code. So it's an OpenCV library in Python. Any certification that matters, like as in good weightage, I would say any certification from Oracle is really matter. Oracle certifications and Azure cloud certifications. The Oracle certifications, they matter a lot because one thing is they are really expensive and tough to crack. But since they stick with you for permanently, so I would say Oracle certifications are really worth it. And the cloud certifications, they are worth it because you have to give it every couple of years. You have to renew it, and the rules vary from one certification to another certification, one cloud platform to another cloud platform. And since there is always some improvement in cloud-based certifications, so you have to renew it every couple of years. So they just want to make sure you are up to date and you don't just stick with your certificate that you gave a couple of years ago. So let's say cloud certificates do matter. But there are a lot of options to do in Azure, so make sure you know which certification you want to, which certification you are going for. So let's say cloud certifications do matter, but make sure to check which certification you are going for. So you can always talk to your campus. Make sure you to add your campus email address, because all of the certificates that I did from cloud Azure, they were compensated because the university, the University of Texas at Dallas, so they are in partnership with Azure, and Azure just reimburses 100% of your fees, so you don't have to pay anything. So I would say Oracle, you can talk to the university. Azure, you can talk to university, but they do really have a good weightage for your profile, and that really does get a good impression in interviews.
Thank you, Venkatesh. So very nice presentation from starting onwards, where to start and where to end. So each and every year you give the detailed information to our students. So thank you very much. So be in touch within our alumni association. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.